Bite-sized German lessons by 11%.
Sich anziehen. We put on clothes more or less every day, so it's useful to know which verb to use to describe this in German. We will use anziehen for this purpose, which also means to tighten and to attract. So for one verb, you get several meanings. What a deal! Anziehen. 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 Now, this is a tricky one. The verb anziehen is a separable verb, which means its prefix an gets separated from the rest of the verb, depending on the verb tense and the sentence. And it is also irregular, which means that some of its forms will be quite different from the infinitive. But more about that a little bit later. Anziehen means to put on clothes or to dress up. But besides that, it also means to attract something and it means to tighten something. Let's check out some examples. Ich muss mich anziehen. I have to put my clothes on. Die Mutter zieht das Baby an. The mother dresses the baby. Sie zog ihr neues Kleid an. She put on her new dress. Der Automechaniker zog die Schrauben am Auspuff an. The car mechanic tightened the bolts of the exhaust. Nachts zieht Licht Insekten an. At night, light attracts insects. Der Weihnachtsmarkt zog viele Besucher an. The Christmas market attracted a lot of visitors. Der Magnet zieht Eisen an. The magnet attracts iron. And now let's check out the whole conjugation of the verb. Präsens. Ich ziehe an. Du ziehst an. Sie, es zieht an. Wir ziehen an. Ihr zieht an. Sie ziehen an. As you can see, this is a typical separable verb. The prefix an gets cut off and lands at the end of the sentence. For example, wir ziehen uns an. We are putting our clothes on. Or we are getting ourselves dressed. And the two past tenses. Perfect. Hat angezogen. Got dressed. As you can see, as with the majority of separable verbs, the ge has snuck its way between the prefix an and the stem of the verb. But this time, the stem of the verb is in its irregular form, zogen. So we get angezogen, which we pair with the verb haben. For example, wir haben uns angezogen. We got ourselves dressed. And the simple past form, zog an, put on, or got dressed. Here we see that anziehen appears in its irregular form. The prefix an still separates itself and remains the same, but the stem of the verb is irregular. Wir zogen uns an. We've got ourselves dressed, or we have put our clothes on. And the future tense. Wird anziehen. Will get dressed or will put on. This is a lot simpler in comparison. Here we only change the verb werden, and anziehen stays the same in its infinitive form. For example, wir werden uns anziehen. We will put our clothes on. Want to level up? As you could see in the title, it also sometimes comes with sich, yourself, when it has a reflexive meaning. What does that mean? Well, if you're dressing someone else, you don't use the sich. You just say jemanden anziehen, to dress someone. But if you're talking about someone dressing themselves, you will use sich. Sich anziehen, to get yourself dressed. And bad news is that sich will change from person to person. So depending on that, it can be ich ziehe mich an. I dress myself. Du ziehst dich an. You dress yourself. Sie, es zieht sich an. He, she, or it dresses himself, herself, or itself. Wir ziehen uns an. We dress ourselves. Ihr zieht euch an. You dress yourself. Sie ziehen sich an. They dress themselves. And sie ziehen sich an, the formal version, you dress yourself. Today we've learned a very useful verb, anziehen, which means to put clothes on or to dress up, to tighten and to attract. Sometimes it comes with sich, if it is used reflexively. In other words, if we're describing someone doing something to themselves, mostly dressing themselves up. Anziehen is also a separable and irregular verb, which means we have to pay good attention to the tense and the type of the sentence the verb is in. And since this all was a tiny bit complicated, let's check your knowledge with a little exercise or Übung. Adapt the verb and the sentence to the particular verb tense. Write your answers in the comments below and get the chance to win a free beginner German course. Hungry for more? Subscribe to the channel and set up a micro-learning habit. Or visit the website for more German learning adventures. See you in the next lesson. Tschüss!